building was put up in the 1880s as a banqueting hall, and but cinema in Wareham goes back to the First World War, where there was an army camp where the Purbeck School is now, and the army camp had its own cinema to which townspeople were invited. Now, come the end of the war, the army packed up its tents and left and took their cinema with it. And that left the people of Wareham with an appetite for cinema, but nowhere to indulge it. So this place opened as a cinema about 1922, and it's been going as a cinema ever since. The first few decades, it was called the Empire. We've got posters of the Empire up here, and it passed from hand to hand amongst a number of local entrepreneurs. Its modern history really started about 1962, when it was taken over by Mr. Irons, Mr. Rusty Irons, who made a few renovations here and changed the name to Rex. And Rusty, who was also involved in setting up the cinema operation in the Moorland down in Swanage, he ran the Rex until the late 80s, when he reached his 80th birthday, and couldn't cut it anymore. And it looked like, for the first time in 60 years, Wareham was going to be without its cinema. So a group of local people stepped in, bought the lease from him, got him to teach us how to run it, and well, doing something right, because 25 years later we were still here. The latest change of hands took place about 5 years ago, when the company who'd run it, including myself, decided to step down, and it was taken over by the Purbeck Film Charitable Trust, who had been running the Purbeck Film Festival for the previous decade or so. They were the ideal people to take it over. They were local, they knew the people, they knew film, and right, that was. And so that's who's been running it for the last 4 or 5 years. Cinema seems to have been going downhill, popular-wise, since the 1960s, but it's still there, and we will always be there. When the previous company took over in the late 1980s, there was still a vibrant cinema-going culture here in Wareham. But then in 1990, they opened a multiplex in Poole, just 8 miles away, and immediately our teenage audience just evaporated. And we went through a few very lean years. We nearly went under, in fact, and then after about 5 years we just seemed to turn the corner, and we realised that our future was with films that the multiplex isn't interested in. Art house material, archive material, foreign language films like that, and that's been our mainstay for the last 20 years or so.